8 seconds is all it takes to become a legend in the rough pits of the rodeo arena. Sounds easy, doesn't it? That's where you're dead wrong. 8 seconds with a wild, bucking tank underneath you will be the longest seconds of your life. Today we're looking at 6 of the worst rodeo disasters in human history. Can you just imagine waiting for the gates to swing open? You can feel the pulse of the bull beneath you as it furiously shoots air from its nostrils. Its tense muscles and large frame remind you of the power you are now trying to conquer. Will you come out on top, or will you be smashed into the dirt like so many riders before you? You might plant your feet on the ground as a victorious champ, or you might end up like the unlucky rodeo champs that made it to our list, either waking up on the dirt in an ambulance or never waking up at all. You might pity the bull in this situation, but the truth is, the rider often faces the most harm. It's estimated that 21 professional bull riders have died since 1989, and this doesn't even include unverified numbers from amateur leagues. If you are lucky and never get a serious injury from a raging bull, you can look forward to joint damage, potential nerve damage, and even hearing loss. As always, viewer discretion is advised. First up, let's take a look at Chris Shivers. Chris is arguably one of the greatest riders in the history of the PBR. He has history-making firsts to his name, won the PBR World Championship twice, and nearly died once. His professional career started in 1997, just a year before the accident we're talking about. He was the first PBR bull rider to register 13 90-point rides in one season. On top of that, he has the most 90-point rides in PBR history, topping out at 94. He also made a fair share of money in his bull riding career. He was the first rider to earn $1 million, $2 million, and $3 million in 2001, 2002, and 2003, respectively. These are just some of his firsts. Chris Shivers also holds an impressive list of achievements over his 16-year career in the PBR. It's no wonder he was inducted into the PBR's Ring of Honor in 2013. The PBR Ring of Honor goes to individuals who have made a significant contribution to the sport of bull riding. It is both a physical ring and a fellowship of men whose blood, sweat, and heartaches have been instrumental to the present and future of the sport. This prestigious honor will put you alongside names like Ty Murray, Brent Thurman, and Jerome Davis. However, Chris was never keen on speaking too much about himself. There's a pretty big list of guys that have done something special, and that was a big part of my career. There was some meaning in it to be able to leave a mark. And in his time, he certainly left a mark. Let me take you back to the action of the 1998 PBR Boise Bull Riding Blowout in Boise, Idaho. The arena was packed with excited fans, all waiting to see the next big ride. Chris was among the riders, ready to leave his mark. He had his sights set on the PBR World Finals and would not back down from a challenge. But little did he know, this ride wouldn't go as planned. Chris was matched against Shorty, a fierce Mexican fighting bull owned by Dan Russell. As soon as the metal chute was open, Shorty burst out of the gates with all his might. Despite the bull's best efforts to throw him off, Chris held on with all the grit, grace, and determination of a cowboy. The crowd cheered as he defied the beast's powerful bucks and twists. They thought he had done it, but this was a fearsome bull. Eventually, the beast had its way, and Chris was thrown off, landing hard on the ground. He was knocked unconscious on impact. The arena fell silent as Chris made no sign of getting up. The bull, not satisfied with just knocking Chris off, turned back and started charging him. Shorty rammed him with its horns repeatedly. It trampled over him multiple times, as though reminding him who was in charge. The bullfighters and rodeo clowns rushed in to divert the bull's attention. They did their best, but Shorty was relentless. He made his way back to Chris, delivering another fierce blow. The crowd held their breath, watching the terrifying scene unfold. Responders surrounded Chris and loaded him onto a stretcher. Everyone feared the worst. Using the last of his willpower, Chris managed to raise his arm. He signaled to everyone that he was okay as the paramedics rushed him out of the rodeo arena. Despite this near-death encounter, Chris Shivers didn't let it stop him. He went on to win the PBR World Finals in 2000 and again in 2003. His remarkable 16-year career in the PBR saw him retire in 2012 with an impressive $3.3 million in earnings. Thankfully, Chris made it out of this brutal encounter alive. But there are many others who weren't so lucky. If you're a fan of the thrills of bull riding, you may have heard the name Bolton. If you haven't heard of him, we'll give you a quick rundown. Bolton broke onto the bull riding scene in 2008 when he won the championship bull riding, CBR, world title at 20 years old. His achievements only got more impressive from this point on, as you're about to see, until a horrifying incident changed his life forever. Bolton was born on June 1, 1987, in Odessa, Texas. He was raised on a ranch located between Odessa and Gardendale, Texas. His father, Toya Bolton, was also a bull rider who taught him how to ride. He joined the junior rodeo at the age of 10. Bull riding opened doorways to Bolton's future. He received bull riding scholarships to study at Odessa College and Texas Tech University. His professional career spans 14 years of clenching onto fearsome, bucking bulls. He qualified for the CBR World Finals 5 times, from 2007 through 2011. He won the World Championship in 2007. In 2011, he won the CBR event in Las Vegas, Nevada. In 2013, he won the CBR event in Hobbs, New Mexico. During this time, he was also competing in the PBR circuit, which came to an abrupt end after his injury in 2016. On February 14, 2015, Bonner competed in the Velocity Tour event at the Yakima Valley Sundome in Washington. In the championship round, he delivered an impressive ride, scoring a high of 90.5 points. This victory not only earned him 80 points towards the world standings, but it also marked his second Velocity Tour win of the 2015 season. Many agree that the 2015 season was his most successful pro bull riding year, even with minor injuries that held him back. He also got a taste of Hollywood fame in the film The Longest Ride. Clint Eastwood's son, Scott Eastwood, played the main character, with Bolton being a stunt double for the fictional bull rider. Eastwood's stunt bulls had to ride a top-ranked PBR bull named Rango. Rango was a real bull, known for his tenacity, with only 12 successful rides out of 75 attempts in his career. On August 9, 2014, Bolton and 3 other riders tried to ride Rango for a full 8 seconds. Bolton was just shy of clearing the bull, but it was more than good enough for the film. He described the moment as intense. He knew the production relied on a successful ride. In January of 20s, Bolton would face his last ride. This day would end his pro bull riding career and plunge him into depression. I had this feeling that weekend that something big was going to happen. I thought maybe it would be my first big win. Something big did happen that would change his life forever, but that was not what he was expecting. In his career, Bolton ripped his biceps off his arm, dislocated his left shoulder 3 times, and shattered his collarbone. But nothing could have prepared him for this accident. Bolton was on a bull known as Cowboy Up, a massive black beast weighing in at 270 pounds. As he went to dismount, Bolton was bucked off the back of the bull. He spiraled through the air toward the unforgiving ground and landed directly on his head. In that moment, Bonner felt a loud crunch and realized he was unable to move. He could see his hands, but he couldn't feel them. Frightened and unable to move, he laid his head on the ground. He spit out a mouthful of dirt and watched helplessly as a doctor examined him. Bolton was trapped in a body he could no longer feel or control. It was one of the scariest moments of my life. Guys do die in the arena, and it all started flooding in. I knew I was about to be one of those guys. He prayed that if he was going to live, he'd regain the use of his arms. Suddenly, what's important in life becomes very clear. Number 1, it's the people you love. I could only think about wrapping my arms around them and hoping I would get the chance. He had broken his C2 vertebra. When I left the arena Sunday, I was paralyzed from the neck down. The same injury as Christopher Reeve, who played Superman, ended up in a wheelchair, Bolton said a few days later in an Instagram post. For a harrowing 24 hours, he lay motionless in the hospital. He suddenly felt a strange sensation in his stomach, which then reverberated throughout his body. He had somehow miraculously regained feeling from his head to his toes. I was so stoked I wanted to jump out of bed and celebrate, but I couldn't, obviously. The doctors said maybe 2% of people would walk away from that severe of a spinal injury. Bolton underwent a 6-hour surgery. Doctors inserted a metal frame around his vertebra. They later informed him that there was a possibility he might ride again. However, a few months later, Bolton's sports doctor crushed his dreams of a comeback. Basically, he said, "The way they put the metal in your neck, it's right next to your main artery. If you break something against your third vertebra, you're dead or paralyzed. I will never release you to ride." But at the World Championship in 2015, photographer Cass Bird took portraits of the riders. Bolton's look caught the eye of IMG models honcho Ivan Bart. IMG offered to sign him to a modeling contract. After the bad news from his doctor, Bolton says the modeling offer gave him a fresh fire and a second wind. Bonner Bolton is not the only Hollywood star to make it onto our list. Brady Jandreau is a remarkable figure who bridges the worlds of rodeo and film. Born and raised on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota, Brady's love for horses started early. From a young age, he demonstrated a natural ability to connect with and train horses. He had a talent that set him apart in the rodeo community. His deep bond with these animals, along with his skill and dedication, earned him a reputation as a skilled saddle bronc rider and horse trainer. It's unfortunate that this love for horses would result in a catastrophic accident. Brady's expertise with horses was not limited to riding. He had an exceptional knack for handling and training horses, which others found challenging. This talent, honed over years of experience, made him a standout on the rodeo circuit. It was his profound connection to horses and his unique ability to understand them that defined his career. His dramatic life became the inspiration for the acclaimed film The Rider, directed by Chloe Zhao. In the film, Brady plays a version of himself, reenacting his own story of recovery and struggle. The Rider not only features Brady, but also includes his family and the real horses he trained. The film received widespread praise for its authenticity and emotional depth. It captures the true essence of the cowboy lifestyle and the resilience required to overcome its challenges. Critics praised the film for its realistic portrayal, a testament to Brady's genuine performance and the raw, unfiltered depiction of his life. The accident that inspired the film occurred in April of 2016, during a PRCA rodeo in Fargo, North Dakota. Brady was wowing the crowds with his skills on a bucking horse. Exploding from the gate, it spun and starfished as Brady tried to keep his seat. As the horse bucked backwards and forwards, Brady lost control and flew off its back. He hit the ground, and one of the horse's hooves came down on his head. Unlike the bull riders of today, bronc riders typically don't wear any kind of helmets or safety gear. Instead, they come out of the gate with their signature cowboy hats. The crowd watched in horror at the impact to Brady's unprotected skull. Without any head protection to absorb the blow, everyone assumed the worst. People rushed to his aid as his unconscious body lay completely still in the dirt of the rodeo arena. The catastrophic incident resulted in a severe head injury and a fractured skull. The accident was a life-altering moment, throwing his future into uncertainty. The doctor's prognosis was grim, and they warned him of the dangers of returning to riding. But for Brady, the thought of not riding again was more terrifying than the risk itself. Against medical advice, he found himself back on a horse just 2 weeks after his accident. This act of sheer determination and passion for riding marked a pivotal moment in his life. Beyond the silver screen, Brady's life continued to revolve around horses. Together with his wife, he runs Brady Performance Horses. Here, They trained quarter horses. This new chapter in his life highlights his resilience and adaptability. His journey from a rodeo rider to an actor and horse trainer shows his spirit and commitment to his passion. While this injury to Brady Jandreau was life-changing, at least his life could still go on. The same cannot be said for the next two talented souls on this list. You likely haven't heard the name of Jason Gustavo Artavia Vasquez. This 28-year-old was an amateur bull rider from Costa Rica. The accident goes to show that any bull, no matter its size and stature, is a dangerous animal that can kill. The day began like any other in the world of rodeo. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation as the crowd gathered to witness the feats of the riders. Among them was Vasquez, a seasoned rider known for his courage and skill. He mounted the bull with determination, ready to face the powerful beast in the heart of the arena. As the gate opened, the bull, a mass of muscle and raw power, charged into the arena. Vasquez held on tightly as the bull bucked and jumped to get him off. The crowd roared, captivated by the intense battle. However, in a sudden twist of fate, the bull lost its balance. It fell heavily on its side, crushing Vasquez beneath its enormous weight. The crowd gasped in horror as the rider was trapped under the bull's body. The muscular animal quickly scrambled to its feet, but Vasquez was still caught in its grip. The bull, disoriented and agitated, began to toss the unconscious rider around like a rag doll. Footage of the scene shows just how brutal and terrifying these last moments were. Each movement seemed to defy the laws of nature, as the bull's strength flung Vasquez through the air. After what felt like an eternity, the bull managed to throw Vasquez off its back. The 28-year-old rider hit the ground with a sickening thud. He lay motionless as the dust settled around him. The crowd, which had been roaring moments before, fell into a stunned silence. Amidst the chaos, dozens of men rushed into the arena, risking their own safety to reach Vasquez. They managed to pull him clear of the danger, but the damage had already been done. Red Cross worker Marina Villalobos was among the first to respond. She later reported that Vasquez was collected by an ambulance in a critical condition. Despite their best efforts, the rider's injuries were too severe. He died shortly after being admitted to the hospital Enrique Baltodano. The event sent shockwaves through the community. The brutal reality of the dangers faced by rodeo riders became ever more clear. It also sparked a heated debate about the nature of such events. One viewer, going by the name Al Vargas, expressed his frustration, saying, "Well, keep on promoting these stupid events then." Donnie Wentz added, "It is high time we banned entertainment based on animal abuse that also proves dangerous to humans." What do you think? Is bull riding a cruel form of entertainment that should be banned outright? Whatever people's opinions may be, the rodeo circuit still attracts large crowds and attention. The men and women who brave these fearsome bulls are idolized and hold legendary status. Glenn Keeley is one such bull rider. By the age of 18, Glenn was already riding alongside the top cowboys in the world, his natural talent clear as day. Many believed he could be the next rider to achieve a perfect 100 score, a feat legendary in the sport since 1991. His journey seemed destined for the Bull Riding Hall of Fame, with his name poised to be remembered among the greats. But fate had other plans. On March 24, 2000, during the Professional Bull Riding Bud Light Cup Series in New Mexico, Glenn's path took a turn. He was slated to ride a famous bull named Promised Land, a formidable opponent weighing over 2,000 pounds. Promised Land was not just any bull. He was the 1999 Bull of the Year, known for his athleticism, strength, and unpredictable nature. As Glenn prepared for his ride, the atmosphere was tense. He was 9th in the PBR World Standings and had one of the best years of his career, with nearly $34,000 in earnings. A good performance would cement his place at the World Finals. Fellow riders wished him well, knowing the challenge that lay ahead. When his number was called, Glenn mounted Promised Land. His focus and determination led the way. The gate exploded open, and Promised Land charged into the arena, wild and powerful. Glenn held on tightly, navigating the bull's violent twists and bucks with skill. Time no longer existed as Glenn leaned into each movement, his body absorbing the jolts, his hand gripping the rope. The crowd watched in awe, admiring the display of courage and expertise. After 8 grueling seconds, Promised Land finally succeeded in throwing Glenn off. The crowd's cheers quickly went silent as Glenn fell into the path of the still rampaging bull. In a cruel twist of fate, Promised Land's rear hooves struck Glenn with a devastating blow. The impact was brutal, and the seasoned cowboy was left motionless on the ground. The arena erupted into chaos as dozens of men rushed to Glenn's aid, pulling him to safety. Despite his injuries, Glenn remained conscious and resilient, his toughness masking the severity of his injury. Glenn was wearing the same protective gear that had become standard after the tragic loss of another rodeo legend, Lane Frost. The gear, designed by Cody Lambert, included a vest meant to absorb the impact of a bull's hits and a helmet to protect the rider's head. Yet even the best gear has its limits. The bull's hoof had struck Glenn's chest with such force that it caused fatal internal damage. At the hospital, doctors discovered that Glenn was bleeding internally. His liver was severely damaged. Despite their best efforts, the bleeding was too extensive. Glenn passed away on the operating table. He had turned 30 years old 4 days before. His final ride was marked by both extraordinary skill and heartbreaking tragedy. The rodeo community was devastated by Glenn's sudden loss. Known for his skillful and clean dismounts, Glenn rarely found himself in dangerous situations. His reputation for avoiding injuries made the circumstances of his accident even more surreal. His passing cast a shadow of mourning over the event. In the aftermath, Glenn's legacy continued to inspire. The Professional Bull Riders Organization created the Glenn Keeley Award in his honor, given to the top Canadian bull rider at the PBR World Finals each year. On top of this, the rodeo community established the Glenn Keeley Memorial Bull Riding event, raising funds for a scholarship fund. Over the years, this fund has provided more than $250,000 to support students and athletes in pursuing their dreams. It takes a special kind of person to embrace the dance between man and beast. Glenn was that kind of man. And speaking of that kind of man, let's take a look at the last ride of J.B. Mauney. Born on January 9, 1987, in Charlotte, North Carolina, J.B. Mauney is a name that every bull riding fan knows and respects. Standing at 5'10" and weighing in at just 140 pounds, he made a huge impact in the world of professional bull riding. JB started his career riding in both the Professional Bull Riders, PBR, and Championship Bull Riding, CBR circuits. But in early 2006, he made the big decision to ride full-time in the PBR. That very year, he won the PBR Rookie of the Year title, showing everyone he was a force to be reckoned with. Over the years, JB climbed to the top, winning the PBR World Championship in 2013 and again in 2015. But JB's journey wasn't just about the titles. He was known for his fearless approach, often choosing to ride the toughest bulls. One of his most famous rides was on the Bushwhacker, a bull that was nearly impossible to conquer. JB managed to stay on Bushwhacker for the full 8 seconds in Oklahoma in August 2013. He scored an impressive 95.25 points. He also rode another tough bull, Asteroid, in 2012, proving his skills time and time again. In 2016, JB made history by becoming the first bull rider to reach $7 million in career earnings in the PBR. Despite many injuries, including a significant one to his right arm in 2017, he continued to push the limits. JB always said, "When you crawl into a chute, nothing else matters. You tie your hand, and you don't give up until you hit the dirt." In 2019, he tied with another legend, Justin McBride, for the most televised wins in PBR history. JB competed in the PBR until 2020. He qualified for the PBR World Finals an impressive 15 times throughout his career. But this all changed in September 2023. As JB locked eyes with Arctic Assassin, the beast of a bull snorted and stomped, readying itself for the fight of its life. JB was determined to conquer it in the most daring display of man versus beast the crowd had ever seen. The air was electric as JB Mauney prepared for what would be his final ride. The seasoned bull rider, known for his grit and fearlessness, mounted the bull with a familiar blend of adrenaline and determination. As the gate swung open, JB held on with everything he had, but fate had other plans. The bull bucked violently, and Mauney was thrown, landing hard directly on his head. Pain surged through him as he realized the severity of his injury, a broken neck. In those excruciating moments, Mauney's thoughts might have been a whirlwind of his storied career, the highs of his championship rides, and the love for the sport that had given him so much. Despite the agony, there was also a sense of finality, a bittersweet end to a legendary career that had always teetered on the edge of danger. Somehow this wasn't a fatal accident, but in that moment, JB ended his lifelong bull riding career in seconds. He expressed his acceptance, saying, "This is not the way I wanted to go, but everything happens for a reason." What I think is most interesting about this story is that in early 2024, JB actually bought Arctic Assassin. Imagine spending money to keep the one thing that literally ruined your career. Whether it was out of respect or to keep other riders from suffering his wild rage, Arctic Assassin spends his remaining days on JB's ranch in Stephenville, Texas. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay bold and live brave.